There's something attractive about saying that this is all about our right to know, but that is where I-522 failed. So before we go spending millions of dollars again, perhaps a common sense approach would be in order. Number one, ditch the emotional manipulation and shaky science. Some amount of theatrics is to be expected in politics, but delivering your signatures to the State House in an ambulance, really? More concerning, though, are the ties between labeling supporters and other fringe groups. Dr. Mercola, one of their top donors, is a natural medicine guru who preaches against vaccines and fluoridation while peddling products that consistently get him in trouble with the FDA for making unfounded health claims. The GMO labeling movement often gets dismissed by critics as anti-science, and labeling supporters need to take a hard look at their ties to these groups promoting unfounded health claims and denounce them as needed. Number two, require a more reasonable threshold. The way I-522 is written, it allowed that processed foods could contain a very tiny amount of genetically modified material, 0.9% of the total by weight, without being labeled. But then, in 2019, this threshold expires, and presumably drops to 0. The European Union labeling laws allow for this 0.9% threshold, and the reason? Keeping agricultural products entirely separate during production, transportation, and processing is very difficult and very costly. There's no realistic way to achieve a 0 threshold without entirely removing GMO commodities from the food supply. Again, something labeling supporters may want, but that's a goal that goes far beyond the issue of consumer choice. If I-522 had passed, every farmer in the state of Washington would have to certify, under threats of fines, jail, or both, that every crop he grows is GMO or non-GMO. And then these forms, signed by the farmer, would be recertified and passed down through the market chain to the end processor or distributor who would apply the appropriate label. This process would be cumbersome, costly, and a huge pain in the neck for everybody involved. And it would not only affect Washington's farmers, but every farmer in other states whose crops ended up in Washington's stores would have to go through the same certification process. And this process would not be cheap. Organic certification in this country costs millions of dollars, and some people have estimated that the cost for this program would be similar. Mandatory labeling seems like our logical consumer right, but it serves no useful purpose. And in spite of hundreds of millions of genetic experiments involving every type of organism on Earth, and billions of meals being eaten without a problem, we've gone back to being ignorant, and we can do better.
Thank you, Ms. Carlton. Is there anyone else that would like a chance to speak?
Yes, I know time is short, but I have something I would like to add.